What's going on, people? What's going on? It's your boy Shill Nye. As always, welcome to the next episode of Netflix and Chill. As always, we got the crew with us. We got Crypto Verso here.
Yo, what's up, boys?
We got the boy Crypto Orangutan.
Yo, what's up, boys?
Yo, and today I'm super stoked. We got the man CryptoCred on the show. What's up, Cred?
I just woke up from a nap.
It's true, he did.
It's
What's
10
up?
p.m. UK time, guys.
Yeah, it's the 9 p.m. classic nap. Do you not have that?
So, the first thing that we always do on this podcast is we ask the person coming on, how did you get into crypto?
And am I the exception or am I being asked as well? Because that's just a
No,
statement of
you're
fact.
being Craig, shut up, man. You're being asked, how the fuck did you get into crypto?
I'm just making sure, man. I mean, Twitter, kind of, right? That was the main catalyst because it was around the time of the fork. Well, I had Bitcoin before the time of the fork for like a few years actually, like 2015. But then community-wise and getting involved was crypto Twitter in last summer. And I was like, oh, this seems like a cool place to be. Biggest mistake ever. But that sort of spurred me to make an account, and the rest is Ethereum spam bot filled history, as they say.
So, I'm pretty sure you had like an you go to uni, you study like an economics
I studied law.
degree, right? You studied law?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Next question, guys.
You fucked up your FAQ folder or whatever reference sheet you were using.
Well, I thought you studied economics.
No, I'm not. Come on.
So, okay, I guess the question that a lot of people that will be wondering is, how did you get so good at TA and sounding so smart?
What?
I mean,
Who says
about
that?
98% of that is accent. You know, if Nye says something and I say something, I'm more likely to be right, even if say the same thing, simply because of like how it sounds, and someone says it with an English accent versus whatever the fuck Nye sounds like, right? So in terms of being quote unquote good at TA, I suppose it's that. But more realistically, lots and lots of hours of staring at charts and picking the brains of people who have been doing it for like 5, 10, 15 years. That's those two things, really.
When did you
Was there
start
like
learning
a
TA?
It was
yeah?
around the same time I got interested got into crypto. It's like, a year or so.
Right?
Yo,
Was there like a particular book or website that really taught you most stuff? You know?
I mean, not really. The actual stuff I trade off of and use, etc., hasn't been from like books and other stuff. It's been from traders of primarily forex, currency markets. But in terms of books, the useful stuff you'll get from that, I think, is psychology related, right? Like if trading were as easy as read these texts and you'll be profitable, then it wouldn't be the case that so many people lose money as they do.
Yeah.
So that's sort of popular fiction. It's like, oh, I suck at trading. Which books do I read to get good at trading? It doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah,
And
true.
most TA is just like TA in itself is quite simple, right? But because of the need to sell books, webinars, mentorships, etc., basic concepts have been rebranded, made more complicated, etc., etc. So it kind of takes away from a lot of the simplicity. So no book, nothing like that. Primarily from other traders. But if you're a book kind of person, I think these trading psychology books will make a lot more sense than sort of here's how you draw stuff on a chart books.
Yeah.
dope.
How much do you believe in TA?
I mean, when people say stuff like TA doesn't work, it's always quite like duplicitous because you can't say a statement like something works or doesn't work without defining what that would look like, right? That's like you need to say works for what reason. Now, in my sort of scope, it's a tool that helps me manage risk, right? If I'm going to be taking a position long or short on an instrument, I use TA to increase my probabilities over a large enough sample of trades. So in that sense, it works. And works for me, but is it some magic tool where you'll know where every market is going every day? Well, no, of course not. So I believe it in the specific sort of scope that I use it for. But do I believe it in some like scientific way, if you will, or as some magic tool that will do everything and make you a ton of money? Well, not necessarily. No, it's quite a humble, but it should be quite a humble thing to take part of. Not some, one magic trick that Chinese scientists hate. Click here to learn. It's not quite like that.
Right. So like another part that we usually start the podcast with is the talking about the market conditions. And since right now it kind of sucks, I guess everybody would like to know, where does the great cred sees the absolute bottom for Bitcoin, and what are your thoughts on the price action for like the next 2 or 3 weeks?
I mean, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, now that we've taken out, February or the 6K low, you want to see start to see some signs of rejection, which we're kind of not at the moment, right? We have like one big candle, then we gradually die down. But and again, my current sort of market thesis is this: if this whole sort of move down or the expansion downwards is a stop run, that should meet two sort of criteria, right? The first is that the speed of the move should be quite rapid and should be a fast move down into the area of liquidity, where we presume that sell stops are resting, and we've met that. And the second criterion for that is that the rejection should be reasonably quick, right? So once you've taken February, for example, you shouldn't really spend much time below there, and price should move away. We're not seeing the second bit at the moment, or at least I'm not seeing like good evidence of buy pressure now that these lows have been swept. And I think it's reasonable to posit, and I'm looking out at the moment for, I think it was November lows, that 5.4K ish already once we were going vertical, but 5.4 or whatever else, that seems like a logical place to go, simply because I'm not seeing rejection from having swept 6K. That's about it, right? So thesis, currently waiting to see if it's just, almost sounds ironic, but just the stop run of these really important lows. If it is, we should be seeing rejection either now or at the very lowest point, spike 5.4 and then start rejecting, right? And by that I mean like consistently two things: big bodied candles, right? So expansion, and then higher lows and higher highs. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, we're going under 5K in my opinion, because that's sort of the next logical place for the market to reach for. Is that coherent at all?
I mean, yeah, that's like for short term, but what about the big picture? Like, how do you see if we're gonna have a recovery to like 10K this year? Are we gonna have like really prolonged sideways for the next few months, like many expect, or are we gonna go down to 3K as most expect? I guess. What is like your absolute result of the price action this year, probably?
I mean, that's quite difficult. I don't typically trade like have like theses that extend that far. What I would say is people should not completely cast out of mind the idea that just like the bull market can go on for like a reasonably long amount of time, that the bear market can do so as well, right? I'm not like a 24 obsessive type of person, but people seem to think like, okay, once we bottom, we're just going to fucking skyrocket and go upwards, and it's all going to be really quick. And I wrote an article to this effect saying like, even if we do start going up, it's going to be a bit more of a grind. So like big picture. I mean, I hope that we find a bottom before the end of the year, right? That would be a sensible timeline. Where that bottom is, I've sort of indicated the areas I'm looking at and what I'd need to see. And then once we do find that low, so to speak, the move up, I don't think initially will be as crazy as 2017 was, for example, just because we've got a lot of people underwater, we've got technical resistance and blah, blah, blah. I simply think it'll take the form of higher highs and higher lows rather than, oh my God, we're going like straight to the fucking moon, vertical, etc. That's my sort of big, as macros, I suppose I'm comfortable getting for Bitcoin.
So we do agree that it's going to be pretty boring, basically, for the rest of the year.
I mean, I think that'd be reasonable. Yeah, I think that'd be reasonable. Unless I suppose the first scenario plays through, where it's just a massive sharp move below 5.4, and then we start rejecting. But I don't know, man. I'd rather it wasn't very rushed, to be honest with you.
Agreed. Quick question, right? I saw a bit of tension on Twitter between you and a certain York or whatever his name is. We won't give him
Sure.
any free primo on the podcast. What is your view on all this? Oh, institutional investors are going to invest and Bitcoin is going to go to 100K kind of view.
Well, I think it's a
Just
very
let it out, Cred. Let it.
No,
all
I mean
out.
it's a very clumsily used term in the space, right? Most of the time, I think because of hope, thinking that someone else with lots of money and who wasn't as stupid to buy very high is gonna. This doesn't pertain to the York tweet per se. I'm talking about the use more generally. That someone else is going to swoop in and print the big green candles and sort of give you a break even on the terrible trades that you entered yourself. And I think I mentioned this now in a more sort of private hangout that we were in or whatever, that people conflate two things. One is so-called Wall Street buying. They conflate people who work for those types of institutions buying professionally or like an institutional capacity versus buying personally and for themselves, right? If I work at, let's say, a Wall Street fund and I decide on my personal Coinbase to buy some Bitcoin, that doesn't mean institutional money is buying Bitcoin, right? That should be very obvious. And then the second thing is people have like a super low threshold of what actually constitutes so-called institutional money or institutional investors. Like a trust fund kid punting a couple of mil of dad's money with a so-called blockchain Bitcoin fund doesn't really count, in my opinion, anyway. Right? It just sets a really low bar for saying, "Oh, smart money, institutional investors are coming," etc., etc. There are a whole host of issues as to why Bitcoin, is a very risky investment for your actual big funds, talking like pension funds and the like. And it's just pretty much lazy to take any example of, any company, I suppose, a lot of money or even some money buying Bitcoin and saying, "Oh, the institutions are here; they're going to bail us out." As for the York tweet, I mean, look, it's Twitter. I don't care enough about people on Twitter to like actually harbor really strong feelings. It's just the comment made there was that, which was apparently a joke, which is a convenient explanation. But anyway, the comment there was that Wall Street fund managers bought Bitcoin at the top and held it all the way down there, which is absurd, right? Because I would contest the fact that they even bought that they bought Bitcoin, let alone anywhere near the top, right? And then even more absurd, the fact they would hold it down from 20K to 6K. So I was just like, this is silly, man. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then, whatever, Twitter did Twitter things. But that's my take on the whole sort of institutional sort of thing. There are a ton of issues. It's naive to assume that these people are stupid or that they bought the top or are going to just make life easy for you. And most people probably shouldn't want institutions, so-called proper institutional money, to come in, because if you're losing money trading altcoins against other altcoin traders, you're going to get absolutely massacred by a high frequency trading algo or just by quants trading your markets with their bots, because you're just going to get annihilated. So there's nothing to welcome in that regard.
All right. How do you play the market right now? Because Bitcoin is pretty choppy. Alts are losing all the time underground. Are you playing only like leverage, or are you playing some micro caps? Like, what's your game plan right now?
Bro, I follow this guy, Shill, and he hits me up with the best bear market tips.
So you must be pretty poor, man.
Yeah, I'm absolutely broke.
fucking know it, Cred. Cred's always in my DMs, man. He's always asking me what Bitcoin's gonna do. I gotta give him some advice.
Yeah, especially when Nye tells me to get masternodes, then the coin dies like 95% in value, and I'm like, yes, bear market masternodes.
Yeah, but seriously,
what do you think about Zeus, the So guy, saying that people that tweet out about microcaps are fucking retarded or scammers?
So tell your friends to shut up in the background.
Sorry.
I'll say a couple of things in terms of current market conditions. I'm starting now to be looking at some altcoins. I mean, there's still a higher probability in my mind that they'll break lower. But a lot of them are like at all-time low type levels, slightly below. So in terms of scaling into a position, I'm kind of looking at some of that, but generally for the past couple months, really, it's primarily been leveraged trading on BitMEX, primarily with the perpetual swap Bitcoin pair, not even the altcoins as much. So that's kind of been the name of the game. I'm not really a low cap gem master node iamnai.com type of person. It's never been something that's played to my strengths. So I kind of avoid that. In terms of what do I think of Zisu's tweet, I think you simply can't know whether someone is shilling you a so-called gem because they actually think it's good and they're sharing it with you, or for some other reason, like they need liquidity to exit or whatever else. I think it's sensible to presume that if someone shills that kind of no volume, tiny cap, etc. shitcoin, that you should be careful at the very least. Because I personally don't know almost anyone who would have a very high conviction that a cap like that is good, tweet it, and then buy it, right? You mostly buy it and then tweet it, which sort of leaves you at their mercy depending on how big they are or whatever else. I don't think it's a particularly useful avenue to explore, being like, oh, is he right or is he wrong that these things are dangerous? I mean, the same rules I think should always apply.
What up?
Wait, can we? Let me open this up.
Yeah. So some 15-year-olds smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, that's what I think about that. As long as you just stick to the same sort of due diligence practices or whatever of doing your research, blah, 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 it shouldn't really matter whether you're being shilled utter dog shit or something genuinely good. Like, your system should be able to tell you.
I think that what he meant is that there's a lot of people right now that, everybody right now went into low caps because they kind of, seems to be the name of the game right now. But there is a difference between naming the coin once and tweeting about it, and there is a difference between covering that coin for a whole week, like a few times a day. There's a lot of sudden, every coin right now is a gem. Whatever you can find on to list it on trade ogre. But it is actually pretty easy to pump a coin like this in 100%, even if you have like 3, 4, or 5,000 followers. So
yeah, because there's nothing on the books. Yeah, absolutely. These things are very easy to. And I mean, I'd just be careful if it's on Twitter and it's a gem. Like, what are the chances?
If you just name a gem, you basically know that you should not buy it. I mean,
right?
Nobody serious is using this term right now.
No, I think the standard for what a gem is whose head has fallen through the floor. I mean, again, it's not something I really trade, but I'd just be very skeptical. Just like anything else, like mustard nodes are the same, right? Like someone shills you some insane mustard node, and it's like actually crap.
Mustard node.
Yeah, mustard node.
Instead of mastodon, I like it.
Yeah, credit to Flood on that one. Yeah, it's the same there. It's the same thing there. Like, in whose interest is it that they're telling you about this now?
Well, it's obvious.
People aren't going to trade for you and aren't going to make amazing decisions for you all the time, especially not for free on Twitter.
I got, talking about shilling and stuff, I got a DM from, I'm not going to say who, just in case they don't want to be named.
No.
A guy, no. No, it wasn't, I DM'd him. He tweeted out actually publicly, what do you guys think about shilling a coin that you make obvious you got paid for? And he said, DM me like what you think about it. So I just said, if you're gonna shill a coin, this goes to anyone who's big that's listening, which is probably no one. But if you shill a coin, in my opinion, you're devaluing your brand a little bit. I don't know. You guys are way bigger than me. So what do you think about shilling a coin that you make obvious that you're shilling? Obviously, not one that you pretend that you're just doing out your own, your own pocket kind of. But like, what do you guys think about shilling a coin you make obvious you're shilling? We'll start with Shill Nye.
Nye?
I wasn't even paying attention. What'd you say, Versa?
Yikes.
Oh my God.
I was saying, this guy asked what people's opinions were. And in my opinion, if you shill a coin and make it obvious, you are devaluing your brand. No matter, even if you disclose you're being paid, which I think everyone should. Do you agree that you're devaluing your brand every time you shill? What do you think about, like, doing paid advertisements?
Totally. I think if
just everyone in general, not just you.
If you overdo it, then fuck yeah, no question.
So you think it's about how many times you do it?
I think it's about how many times you do it, and if you keep doing it over and over and over again. Like, the matter of fact is, like, let's just take Superman for an example, right? So Superman, we know, like, he's been paid for shills. You know, we've seen proof of it, and it happens over and over and over again. Therefore, the brand's devalued. You know, but if he does it if he did it every once in a while and announced it and made it very clear to everyone, I think there'd be somewhat of a different perspective. Maybe Superman's a really bad example, but
yeah, bro. I mean, Peter Pan stays alive forever, so he needs to pay for that rent, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think
He needs
we
to
all
get a
can-
proper suit.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
The shoes, bro. That's where it's really at. The shoes. I've had 30-minute long conversations with Nye about one picture of his shoes.
What are those?
Yeah, literally, man.
Oh man.
Whew. Fucking, I can't.
All right. What about because we're gonna have to ask you everything we have here.
That's all right.
'Cause-
What about shilling coins and sort of what effect it has?
not this.
answer that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for the most part, people overrate how the sanctity of one's so-called brand. Even if you're a scamming piece of shit, people forget, and it's pretty much moves on to your next call after enough time, right? As cynical as that may sound, it's what I've observed. So it's almost performance-based. If you're shilling this thing, and then you're shilling it every time, and it's obvious that you're shilling it, etc., but it does well, it doesn't really matter, because you just use that for clout and be like, oh my god, look how many times I tried to make you listen, that this was a good call, and here it is, it's up, whatever. Now, obviously the opposite is true, that if it goes wrong, then you suffer the so-called setback of that. But the distinction they're making is the setback isn't because of, oh, he's a shiller, his brand is bad, it's performance-based. That, oh, he really shilled this and it didn't do as well as I expected, so now he's less trustworthy from a calls perspective. That's really what I think matters for almost most of the stuff. It's just going to be performance-based. You can be a cunt, you can have paid group, this or that, ref links, or whatever. Most people are just going to see if they can make money by following you on Twitter. And the rest of the stuff about oh, his integrity, he never does this, never does that. I think it's quite overrated, right?
That is interesting, because Moon Overlord. He says the exact same thing. He says again and again, he goes, it doesn't matter what you do. People on crypto Twitter just always fucking forget, and it is so true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's what I think as well. Really goldfish type of thinking.
Yeah.
I never forgot Land Call by Nye.
You gotta realize there's some fucking coins out there that there's some people on Twitter that just constantly shill you coins over and over.
I have a bag.
That's literally the only. I mean, I'm not even talking about more. It's not there's other people that are just as bad, if not worse, that keep shilling shit, that have 30,000-40,000 followers and do it over and over and over again, and don't add any other value to Twitter except for complete shills, and they've obviously been paid for them, but people still listen.
Agreed. So. That's why I feel like there's a real big correlation between people that over shill and their interactions. Have you noticed people that shill so much get way less likes and retweets, stuff like that? Just because people know they're just full of shit, to be honest. Yeah. I've noticed that.
And I think the thing is it doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because that's the way they want to play the game. That's the way they can play the game. Some people have a short-term vision and are trying to make a fuck ton of money right now. And they're really good at doing what they're doing, and that's okay with them. And they're totally fine with the fact that
exactly
quote unquote brand will be gone in the next 3 to 6 months. And then there's other people who want to build something that's a little bit more long-term, or have a little bit more respect for their brand and play it a different way. But everybody plays the game in their own way. There's nothing wrong with any way that anybody plays the game, whether you're fucking Ian Bellina, Superman, Mocho, whatever.
Nye.
Red, crypto orangutan.
Leave me out of this.
No way.
No.
This is the thing. I'm terrified at how much I agree, but specifically with the point that being short-term in how you use Twitter. I'm talking about the 2017, make a few good altcoin calls, do a few giveaways. Now you have a lot of followers, you do your private group, then you do this, that, and the other. People perceive that as oh, his brand is it's so shit, and he's just trying to monetize. It's a big money grab, et cetera, et cetera. They've got ref links everywhere, ICOs, paid group, etc. And people frown on that, right? Or they like to pretend they frown on that. But what they don't realize is that person is actually being very conservative. They're being very conservative and sensible by saying, hey, here's my strategy. My sort of central, maybe I'm giving them too much credit here. Maybe they're just greedy. But the way I look at it is those people are like, okay, here's my central thesis. This market is mega exuberant, and I'm in a position of authority that I should pretty much never be in based on merit. I've caught a nice wave. I've caught the hype. Let me squeeze everything I can out of this market for the next N months or X months, get whatever money I can, and then get the hell out. Rather than play it conservatively and try to build something over time without knowing where it will lead, right?
Agreed.
So it's a popular misconception that people think that the people who monetize like a shit ton of stuff, Shill, Reflink, blah, 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 that they're somehow like worse than other people. I get where you're coming from, but they're the ones actually being conservative in terms of their own income and finances, whatever, because they're simply playing it as a bubble and not taking as much a risk as so-called brand builders like, oh, I want to see where Nye.com is in like 5 years. Like, well, maybe Bitcoin will be at fucking zero, right? So, credit to those guys because, short-term vision, and it's clearly paid off very well for some of them, especially looking at where we are now compared to last year.
And
I disagree, man. Like,
let me add
say
one
credit
thing.
to them. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The one thing I want to add is like, you got to also realize like, everyone who's doing their own thing is winning in their own way. The only people that are losing are the people that are talking about those people and spending all their time hating or fucking saying that it's a scam or things like that. Like, yeah, we get it. Some of that shit is really scammy. Like, I don't want to see your fucking referral link 100 times. I'm not joining your fucking paid group. But they're in their own way. Like, the only people who aren't winning are the people who are wasting their time hating.
Let's talk about that a bit. I think it's pretty relevant. Especially with you, like, I'm not trying to like drag you through the dirt. No, I'm not, like, for real, no.
I mean,
Let's talk about. I'm actually trying to like make a good point here, right? Let's talk about Nye, for example. No one knew who he was 4 months. Wait, a car's passing. One sec.
Two weeks ago.
No one knew who he was. No, for real. No one knew who he was like 3-4 months ago, right? Or is that a bit too short?
No, you're right.
That's fair enough.
People,
he used to be in a Telegram group, right? Full of nobodies, I assume. And now he gets so much hate from people that were in that same group. People hate seeing other people succeed in this. It's a really like toxic environment where people just fucking hate seeing other people grow big. I don't know. Like, I'd like to ask you, Cred, as someone that grew fucking hell. You're nearly at 100K followers now.
Yeah, these Russian bots do miracles, man.
Did you notice a growth from followers to haters, or is it just Nye?
Cred blocks everyone.
The thing is, I have, a couple things. First of all, Nye is very special, right? So it'll attract a very special type of person, which I perhaps can't relate to as well.
The ones with extra chromosomes.
Oh, God, man. No, in terms of hate, I actually have a fairly nice time avoiding most of it. I mean, if someone's a bell end on Twitter, I will just block them without thinking, right? Especially with like this.
Dude, we need to talk about this. Actually, we need to talk about this.
I know you. I know what you.
Stop freaking blocking these people. I get. I'm not right now because everybody's dead. But I used to get like messages per day. Hey, can you tell Cred to unblock me? I really love his content. I don't know why he blocked me. I did nothing. I didn't even comment on his stuff. Like, how do you block these people, man? Like, they not even interact with you.
No, so I use this thing called Twitter Audit, which is just junk grade software which scans your certain characteristics of your follower list and sort of points out if it thinks they're bots. And like probably 80% aren't bots, but I just block them all anyway.
That shit's trash, like, for real. I was looking, because I don't have a lot, I have like 3K followers, but I was looking at one of them was the complete normal account, so I would not trust that.
Yeah, but I use that to kind of clean house a bit. But no, in terms of hate, I don't really get much, but maybe perhaps it's because I fucking block so many people that I've just made an echo chamber. I don't really know. But also with me, I don't really do many contentious stuff, right? I don't shill you ref links. I don't really shit posts. I don't make really opinionated or political type posts. I don't put monetized trash down your throat either. It's quite a
you did get some shit for your private courses, right? When you released them, you did some.
So weird. Because I ended up doing like 10, I think is the final number, 10 or 12, half of which was with repeat clients. and it wasn't even like properly shilled. I think I made one tweet, maybe two.
I didn't even know you had it.
About it. Yeah, exactly. It's bizarre. And people were selling like, you sell out, you sell out. It's like, I think I had 50,000 followers at that point. And I was like, you must be an idiot if you think the way if I wanted to sell out, the way I would do it was 1 hour at a time, 1-to-1, because it's probably the least effective model to do it ever. But yeah, I mean, we'll probably come to like private groups in some capacity. And I sort of get, because there's a big stereotype with like monetizing your content in crypto. I don't really know where it comes from. It could be the whole open source decentralization thing. It could be reputational, with just so much trash is monetized by so many scammers. It could be like presumptuous from like other markets, like Forex, MLM type stuff. But yeah, in general, it's quite unpopular. It's quite unpopular to sort of monetize your time, content, whatever. But to answer like the original question, hate, not really, tend to stay quiet. I tend to have a nice time and nothing too crazy.
I feel like about what you just said, it's not the monetary value, like it's not people hate on monetization of content. I feel honestly 90% of it is the deception of monetizing, like, you know, your content. I don't know what you guys think, but I think if someone tries to do it deceptively, it really pisses me off.
But people don't distinguish anymore, man. People don't care how you do it. The second you say that you have this, before they even ask like what the service is or whatever, it's automatically bad. And then everyone piles on, being like, "Oh, you can't trade," or you like, "Well, you know, yeah, your private group is like illegal," and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
A good example of that is Korean Jew. He came onto our podcast the other week, and he was like, "Even though I disclosed, I did a full-on paid like kind of review of the coin." He was like, "Even though I disclosed it was paid, I got the most hate I've ever got." So it just comes to a point where if people don't praise you for, you know, make it public that you get paid for it, then what the fuck is the point of disclosing it? You know what I mean?
I mean,
if you're still going to get a ton of shit. Legally, apart from legally, no one cares about legally at this point, to be honest.
I mean, in the US, you should. If you're shilling,
that's true.
If you're shilling probably securities and you're not disclaiming,
Agreed,
or you know, not being transparent.
Yeah, minus like illegal things, but I mean like
I mean like reputation. Praise, I get it, of course.
Yeah. People should praise people for disclosing if they're getting paid. Seriously, if you don't praise people for disclosing and still hate on it, then you're encouraging all those fucking undisclosed shills, which trust me happens so much. Yeah, you're encouraging people to keep it undisclosed, which is really bad. So I think people should be praising people that disclose that it's paid shills, in my opinion.
Or at least not attacking them, right?
Yeah, at least not
I don't know
attacking
where the whole like thing came from, where like crypto people with big followings like can't monetize their thing. But like if you look at literally every other industry, people are like shoving down your throat ways to make money. And different avenues of join my fucking mailing list, and then you join their mailing list, and it's a fucking
ebooks and shit.
You know, it's 150 different ways to get a profit off of you. And I don't know, man. I feel like crypto Twitter and like the whole like crypto like content creator influencer scene, whatever you want to fucking call it. The majority of people give out like a large bit of content for free. And it's not like that in any other industry. I mean, Cred, you have a whole fucking YouTube page of like top quality content, all revolved around technical analysis. That
dude, I'm so burnt out. You have no idea.
I agree. No, I agree.
I am so burnt. I'm sure we can sort of come onto it, but like it's really tiring.
Yeah, you give a lot of free content out, a lot.
And then it's still weird, right? Because even the one-to-one consultation thing, that was just like, I was answering probably 20 DMs a day, right, on average, just from anyone, all that kind of stuff, these lessons. And then people kept coming back with like, you know, they asked me a question, I'd answer it, and then they'd come back with like an essay on it, and I'd be like, I can't do this, right? So that's kind of who that was aimed at. But yeah, I mean, the backlash from doing that was fucking crazy. And I'm like, I'm not forcing you to pay for anything. It doesn't affect my existing content. Like, this is just fucking mental. It's like a tribal, it's like an instinct reaction. Like, oh, he wants to make money off this thing. I'm not going to look at whether it's reasonable, what the product is, etc. I'm just going to go and attack. I mean, it's crazy. It's really bad.
I feel like the people that pay, I feel like there's a huge difference. The people that do not pay for anything really want to learn. the people that want to learn will know that everything is free. Like, for example, me, I didn't know shit. Everything I learned was free. I didn't pay for any group. The people that pay for groups are the laziest type of people, in my opinion. People that will pay for like groups, they're the laziest type of people. So I don't know. I feel like if you really want to learn, if you're listening now and you really want to learn, it is so easy to get free content. Don't pay for any groups. Don't pay for anything. It's so easy. Just Google it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of frustration on Twitter comes from like, it's kind of a little bit jealous from the people, in the way, maybe not right now, because in this month I actually saw like 2 paid groups open up this month, which is surprising. Since the
Go on, which ones?
I would really like
Shill
to tell
nice
you this,
group.
but those are kind of big accounts, so I can't. But in like May or June last year, there were even small accounts like 2-3K followers opening paid groups, which were absolute shit. Like absolute shit. Like,
did you see the one that exit scammed? I think it was Michu Moxie or something. Had like 3K followers and exit scammed this paid Telegram group.
I don't remember this one, but I guess there was like dozens of them. But like people think that you see how much money these paid groups get actually. Like there are paid groups that charge you like 0.1 Bitcoin for like a month for free or something like this, and you get like 100 people in there. You get like 10 Bitcoins per month, which for many people is really a lot.
I mean, for anyone, it's a lot. I would hope.
Agreed.
But for like, they know that the quality of the group is not really fine because like it leaks out. I mean, people talk. What do they do in these groups? And the content literally is free. I mean, you get a lot of good guys giving free calls that are as successful as those paid groups. So kind of like they kind of feel jealous that they maybe missed the chance to really open something like this and be set. Basically, you have a paid group like this for a few months, and you're basically set for like 10 years of your life. And you can just exit scam, and nobody really remembers.
Well, that's what I mean, right? So I've been in like probably about 12 plus paid groups, right? And when I started off, I obviously paid for all of them. Sorry, Verso. I just thought it was the only way. But now I'm sort of honorary invited.
Guys, don't take this as an example. Like he's a one-off case. Don't pay for paid.
I'm a bad example. Yeah, don't pay for them. But anyway, I agree with you. I agree, and especially because this can really be life-changing money for a lot of these people. Right.
Yeah.
That if you even charge like what's the average? Probably about $300 per month is somewhere in the median for these paid group. And then if you have a few thousand followers and you get this one, there are a few things people don't understand about paid groups. So the first one you'll hear is like, oh, but if people who are shit are running them, how are people signing up? Well, this is the thing. It's actually really easy to get people to sign up to a paid group, right? You just need to go on a hot streak, right? 2 or 3 good calls.
You just post one like successful leverage trade out of 9 unsuccessful on Twitter, and
that's what I mean. The threshold for impressing people enough to pay for something is really low in crypto, and match that with the fact that compared to like forex and stuff, from what I've seen and experienced, people really want to pay for stuff in crypto as well. You put 2 and 2 together, and you essentially have a really low threshold, both for getting people to join. But also what I've noticed from all these groups is retaining members and getting new ones is really easy to do. Like in the course of a month, you make like 1 or 2 good calls, people are very likely to renew. Even if they don't, you take those 1 or 2 good calls, post them on Twitter and like, oh my God, our new members are literally vomiting from how successful they are. And everyone just FOMOs in and comes in. So yeah, I mean, I get where they're coming from. For a lot of these people, and for anyone really, the type of money you make from running even like a shit tier Discord with 100 people is literally like 2, 3, 5 times the median wage in your country, right? So like I totally get it in many cases. Let's be rational here. Like this isn't the type of monthly earnings that a lot of these people would come across in any other way.
Agreed, but I feel like if they did their own research, mate, that they would do even the same or even more.
That's the point. They never will.
That's true. That's true.
That's just in every field ever, isn't it? Like, what do you need to pay for? Like, personal training, fitness stuff is the same, business stuff is the same, writing. It's everywhere like that, man.
This has nothing to do with like their quality of their ability to do research. It's like has to do with their quality of being a human being. Like these, like the people like who want their fucking they want they just want calls and they want their calls to be hit perfectly.
They just want easy way out.
Yeah,
Dude,
Yeah,
like,
they have no willingness to succeed. They have.
But is
no
it really
willingness.
fair? Is it really fair to attack everyone under the same
Yeah,
price?
I
Like,
really
what if you're
honestly,
someone-
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
But
It
hold
is.
on, hold on.
Let me tell you why. It really is. I had zero knowledge. Probably none of you guys in the court. I had zero knowledge. I wanted to learn. So guess what? I learned for free.
Yeah, but
it
some
really
people
is
might not
free.
want to learn. Like seriously, if
Well,
I'm,
then
for
they
example,
don't deserve it.
no, I
Then
mean
they
that's
don't
bollocks,
deserve
right?
it.
So that's why you give your money to like funds to manage it and invest in index funds, or if you're an accredited investor, a rich guy, your hedge funds. You're saying I don't want to do the research. I don't want to do build a quantitative strategy. Get your nerds from all these good universities. I'm going to give you my money, pay you a management fee, and you make my portfolio go up. Right? And it's the same here. In many cases, some people just see, okay, so a lot of Bitcoin stuff is going up. Lots of people are making money. I don't really give a shit whether about blockchain, altcoins, whatever. I have a full-time job and family. I've got other stuff to focus on.
yeah, I
So I'm
agree
just
with
going
this
to
one.
I'm going to let this guy who has a lot of followers on Twitter and has a few good calls, I'm just going to join his group and see if I can make money. Like, I totally get that. Not everyone cares about this. Not everyone wants to learn about trading. Some people just want exposure and like an easier way out, so to speak.
I agree with this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
One,
You're actually right.
the
I
number,
didn't think about
the
that.
kind of people that you are talking about is like a very, very small.
It's probably like less than 5%.
And the second thing, like I can name probably 2 or 3 paid groups that actually are probably worth it, because outside of giving calls, like I know there are good people inside, they also like kind of try to teach you something. They're kind of available for you there and stuff and blah blah blah. So if somebody,
and some people need that hand holding, right? So
but this is a very small part. Most of the time, those people, for example, 2 days ago, I posted this small tweet that I made like times 30 on one coin, and I got like instantly 3 DMs saying like, do I have a paid group?
Do you have a group?
Do I have another low cap that I can shield him? Do I have to do this? I mean, people are so like.
Yeah, and it goes to my point. People want to pay for stuff a lot in this space, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Dude, I get paid. I get like during all of April, I had at least 20 to 30 messages in the whole month asking if I had a paid group.
Yeah, I still get a lot of messages like that. That's because scammers also set up websites for me. Like fake sites about paid groups, so they just steal my charts off Twitter and like post them on Telegram and stuff. But no, generally, like a lot of people in this market want to pay for something, and it almost doesn't matter why they want to do it, either because they're just lazy or because it's not convenient for them to learn or whatever. It almost doesn't matter, right?
Because the vision of buying one coin that will make you like times 50 is actually setting you up really for a long time. The vision of hitting something like this is probably worth for them to like risk it and pay for the 1 month of paid group. Maybe you'll find one call like this, but in reality it actually never happens. Basically, you have to still have your own risk management when you play these alts. Nobody's gonna hit those buttons for you. So kind of like for those group that I am like few of my friends have right now, usually it's just enter, exit, and that's it. There is nothing like in between. Where if something happens with the coin, there is no instruction for you what to do, and like this is only to the first moment when the person gets wrecked. It's all fine, but later, even if it's if it doesn't work out, that person doesn't renew the membership, it doesn't matter anyway.
Exactly, yeah, that's a really big part of it. The retention is really easy for these groups. Again, I've been in like 12 plus. It's really easy to retain members even when the market's shit. It's almost easier to get new members when the market is bearish and you're making good calls, because everyone's like, oh my God, I've lost so much money, but these guys in this group made money. This is fucking crazy. I want to go in,
Yeah, you all would be really surprised how successful really these guys are individually as well.
Guys, not to be rude, I actually need to go.
That's all right, man. Have a safe trip.
I got stuck in town, guys. I'll see you in the next podcast.
Yeah, have a safe trip, man. Take it easy.
All right, peace, guys. Thanks for coming on, Cred. Peace.
You're welcome, man.
Follow me on Twitter.
I'm kicking him.
See you guys. See you.
I ejected him. Fuck yeah.
The thing is, a lot of these paid group guys, I mean, they actually work quite hard. And I know this from experience. Again, like they put in crazy amount of hours, because I think the biggest downside of a paid group that people don't think about is people expect you to babysit them.
Yeah, and
you have 100-odd members in there, and exactly. And they will say like, you make a call, especially with leverage trading groups, but generally, you make a call, you'll get like 10 different DMs. And then like people will be like, oh, here's my portfolio, can you have a look? Or like, what do you think of this coin? Or like, what do you think of my chart? Like these guys actually, in a lot of cases they don't, obviously, right? Like the scam groups, the shit Telegram bot signals that just gives you EMA crossover signals or whatever. Sure, there are those, but the ones I know, they certainly work fucking hard. And answer DMs all day and babysit all day, etc.
Yeah, you cannot take that away from them. That's actually true. That
For sure.
Most of your free daytime basically goes to talk to people who have no business trading most of the time.
Yeah, and they feel entitled to their full time 24/7 because they're paying them this monthly fee.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm actually wondering. There's a lot of paid groups that offer lifetime membership for like a amount of money. What happens when you, for example, get like 20 of these guys, and you, for example, got so rich, like I don't know, in like 3 or 4 months, and you shut down the group?
And that's what Picasso did, right? I mean, he reimbursed to some extent some lifetime people or whatever. But yeah, in general, the lifetime memberships is absolutely crazy because like, and there needs to be some sort. I mean, I would hope these people give some sort of minimum term for what lifetime means before you pay for it. But yeah, no, those are like the worst.
100% that doesn't happen. 100%.
Yeah, you're probably right. But no, I mean, we don't know where this market will be in like 3 months. Why would you? Like, hey, son, the reason you can go to college with no debt is because when I was in my early 20s, I joined this lifetime group. We've been making millions ever since. Like, come on.
Nah, man, it's just a quicker way to make money right up front, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. It's just upfront, sort of almost liquidity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's tiring, and I'm just wondering, like, what's gonna happen when most of these groups like have it enough of like making money out of people? Because I've seen live through a few of my friends having groups, and how they cannot even go to vacation right now because they have to spend like 12 hours a day on phone, even if they are not writing on drawing charts and stuff. They have to be at least like once every 30 minutes online to answer some questions.
Yeah,
like
the expectations that people have if they're in your group are just so high in terms of your availability or whatever else. I mean, that's like a huge, like if I monetize my stuff, whatever, like I think paid group is actually a terrible model to do it. Because if you have a reach of tens of thousands of people on Twitter, like even if you have 10K, 20K, 30K, whatever, and your monetization model is choosing to limit yourself to about 80 or 100 people 24/7, I just don't think that's particularly effective. When it comes to
the point here is that you trade, you buy something once and you sell it 1 week later for like ×2. You get all the free time in the world in between. I mean, that's the goal for everybody basically.
Yeah.
When you get a paid group, you just get yourself a normal job that later might be not
babysitting. It's just babysitting in a different place. And I think you said you were very accurate when you said you're babysitting the kind of people who have no business trading in the first place, right? Especially one of my mates, he has a group, and they've been primarily doing BitMEX for the past few months. So you can imagine what that's like. Someone who has no idea kind of how basic trading works is trying to follow MEX calls without understanding like what an inverse contract is, what's mark price, what's liquidation price, what's a stop loss, how do you calculate position size, all of that stuff. Yeah, it gets pretty fucking terrible, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we got 10 minutes left. I wanted to ask you something. Let's get off the topic of paid groups. How did the Cred brand start? You were talking that you started TA like a year ago. Start like CryptoCred is you started running TA. How did you get 40 employees behind the Cred brand?
40 employees, yeah. How did we turn into a global thriving consultancy?
Exactly. How did you bring your revenue to over $2 trillion?
Yeah. We've got 50 million assets under management now. Yeah, it's really popping off, dude.
Congrats.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really fully know how to answer that question. I enjoy creating content, right? Like videos and art. I mean, it does get tiring, and like at the moment, I'm super burnt out. And if I've been like, I mean, you've probably seen a bit now. I've been a bit ragey in DMs and generally quite irritable, and you do get burnt out. But to answer your question properly, I enjoy making content. One is just, I enjoy the production process of making content, the research, and all of that stuff. But really, the thing that motivated me a lot is when I was making videos or articles or whatever on these concepts, they would make me a better trader, right? So it would force me to revisit my understanding of concepts and how I use it and how I explain it and be like, oh, this is actually cool. I never thought about this, or, oh, this is a lot clearer, etc., etc. So the research process actually made me a better trader and like using all of these tools as well. And thirdly, I should mention the feedback's been really good, right? Just on the most basic level, people like it. I get good feedback. And then I derive a personal benefit from it as well, and it improves how I do stuff and understand things and so on. So it's kind of just been that for the last 8 months or so.
Dope.
I don't have a more exciting story to tell you about how I met this guy in LA who said, "Hey man, you're the future," and all that stuff. It's pretty much. Yeah, I met Nye and he told me. It's pretty bland, just making videos and getting good feedback and enjoying the process.
Dope. I dig it. Okay.
Where did you buy the cardigan from?
How did you choose your avatar? What's the fucking story behind that shit?
Sorry, what's that nice story behind what?
Your avatar. How'd you choose it?
What the hell is that cardigan, dude? This is
Oh, sorry.
golden.
Oh yeah, that was nice. So the golden glasses was added by someone on Telegram. I mean, the avatar generally, I'm not really, not a bunch of thought went into that. It's an now deceased American economist called Hyman Minsky, whose work I was enjoying last summer. So I was like, hey, this guy looks pretty cool. And sort of your black and white avatars, whatever, were a bit trendy at the time. So I was like, I'll just slap this on. So yeah, there's no deeper meaning to it, unfortunately. You can see a lot of this is quite go with the flow, bland type of stuff, as opposed to, it wasn't like, hey man, I had like a focus group and we reviewed over 1,500 profile pictures and this one got the most clicks. It was pretty much just, I was just reading this guy's book and I was like, okay, I'll choose this one.
Bro, I'm really good with storytelling. I'll help you with that.
Yeah, we need to make up like 10 different narratives and 10 different focus groups.
We need to up your branding right now.
Yeah, I need a website and all that stuff, dude. Like, hook me up.
CryptoCred.com.
All right.
What about you, Nye?
No, don't let Nye talk about me.
All day. What were you gonna ask, Monkey?
Actually, Nye found few new haters of you, and they are getting really creative lately. I will show you them later.
Can we talk about this Potcoin thing? Because I'm not aware of what this
the coin that Nye lost his money on, or what?
Oh yeah, totally.
No, I mean the thing he commented on the tweet today, being like, I was in a Potcoin group or whatever. What the fuck's all that though?
Bro, I got caught in the fucking pump and dump in like my first couple weeks, like as being an actual trader in crypto.
But do you mean by caught? Do you mean you were leading it, or you were just in the group and got dumped on? Or?
I wasn't leading it. No, I was following fucking. So I was a fucking noob. I was in a paid group.
It's your boy.
It was, and we were all following, Tika, fucking Palm Beach,
Pump Beach,
Palm Beach Confidential, and one day he called Popcoin, and I fucking jumped right into it. Like,
did you go all in?
No, pretty much. Yeah, it was pretty much.
Like what?
It was a wreckage. I was on a super big high because I had caught the first power pump, Power Ledger. I caught that.
Yeah, of course.
And like made a shit ton of money. I was super stoked on it. I was like, I'm gonna get to 1 Bitcoin. Ended up getting.
Did you?
Wait, why does this reflect badly on you? So you were caught you got dumped on as part of a pump and dump. Did you like advertise it to people to get in, or
no?
Okay, so how does this make you look? Why are people bringing it up as if it's ammo against you? I'm not quite.
I don't know
the connection.
I think he's just like trying to point out like a bad trade that I made and trying to.
How fucking weird is that? Jesus, I thought it was something more spicy. There's just some generic shit about being new in crypto.
No, just caught in a pump and dump. That's about it. But that's the story.
Shit, man, that's so much less exciting than I had it in my head. But
terrible story, but thanks for telling it anyway. Okay, so since we got like 2 minutes left, we always finish this glorious podcast, Cred, with advice for the newbies. So if you got anything that you'd like to share with them, Now's your time.
Advice for the newbies. Go back to when we were approaching a top in the market. So think back to those dates, sort of the tail end of last year, and then open up like a few of the big accounts or the accounts that you follow and deem as authoritative, and see the kind of stuff they were saying or doing around that time. And if they were super euphoric and going absolutely crazy and talking about the next target, 40K, etc., exercise some caution and, adjust accordingly. Whereas the ones who are a bit like, okay, this is getting a bit crazy, I'm like out of the market, or I've taken a lot of profits, etc. Those are the kinds of people you sort of want to have on your feed as well.
You just started like 50 fights, man, with this advice. What the hell?
Sorry about that. But no, in general, I think it's a decent exercise. See who was mega blind and euphoric when we were at the top, and maybe be a bit less, act less on their advice when you think we're approaching an apex in the market, and fill your feed with people who give you sort of level-headed analysis. And then Twitter will be a slightly less waste of time than it is already. That would be my beginner advice, I suppose.
So,
right. I will go check what did you say actually in December. That's
Don't. You won't find anything.
yeah, I deleted mine as well, so no worries.
Nice. Okay, good. We're safe. See you in our private group.
Awesome. All right. So what's up? I think we are getting to the end here, right? Nai?
Yeah, man.
Get your boy ending and stuff.
You ready for it, orangutan? You fucking ready for the ending?
I am ready.
All right, bro. As always, guys, it's your boy Shill Nai. Thanks for joining us on Netflix and Chill. Crypto Orangutan is on here with me. Want to say goodbye, Orangutan?
Goodbye, Orangutan.
Okay, perfect. Yo, Cred, appreciate it, dude.
Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
See ya, guys. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.